Well, hello everyone, and welcome in live, all of you folks on YouTube and Facebook, a number of platforms on Facebook, and we really appreciate your presence here tonight. Well, the name of the program is Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower, and we got a great program lined up here tonight. We got Anne Marie coming in from Northern California. Anne Marie is a former Jehovah's Witness, and Anne Marie has got a subject tonight she'll be discussing with us that you're going to like. And she has a very special guest coming in from New York. His name is Albert, and he's got quite the story to tell. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us here. Hello, Anne Marie. Are you there with me?
Hello, my brother. Happy New Year's Eve, and I'm right here with you.
Well, very good. So, I'm going to cut you loose, but I'm here if you need me. I'll be going over the news and looking things over here tonight, but I'll be listening in intensely. And if you need me, just say, Rick, come in here. I need some help. But I'll let you know when the time is up. Don't worry. Okay.
Oh, Rick, thank you so much. Can I give a big shout out to our beautiful sister, Susan, the most incredible, amazing woman. What a trooper.
Oh.
Hey, Susan, I'm so happy you're better.
Oh, honey, thank you. You're so kind. Really, really.
You're such an inspiration. Everybody's been praying for all this time, and you are such an inspiration. You just kept going, and you know what? You just make me smile. Every time I think about you, you make my heart happy.
Well, I just want to mention the Six Screens is a beautiful family to be a part of. And there were many people that prayed for me. And I know some of you don't believe in the power of prayer. I do. And their prayers really came to fruition. And I want to thank my Six Screens family for standing behind me.
Oh, thank you, Susan. I do believe in prayer. And there have been a lot of doctors who are not necessarily believers in God or affiliated with any religion, but they have seen with their own eyes what has happened to patients that they thought there was no hope when everybody was praying. And prayer does help tremendously. It sends out that beautiful energy, focuses on the Lord. I believe in it. And I know I prayed a lot. I know Rick was, for everybody I can think of who loves you was praying for you. And I just thank you so much. I'm just so happy. Thank you, Susan.
Oh, thank you, Anne Marie.
Well, that's awful nice of you, Anne Marie, and I really want to extend my thoughts to the audience. Susan, you may remember her coming on years ago. If you're new to the Six Screens, maybe you didn't know she used to be on with me here all the time, right by my side. And when we were out in Chicago, it was mostly she'd come in with me there as well. She's from Chicago, so we did like Six Screens from Chicago. And then Susan got very, very sick with numerous issues, but two of the most issues were her what they call TN, which is trigeminal neuralgia. It's the nerves in your face. She got attacked by shingles, and they destroyed the nerves, and it's very painful. She was in that condition for many years, and she finally got an operation, and then they found out she had a deteriorated jawbone, so she had to have her jawbone removed all at the same time all of this was happening. So she was out of commission. She couldn't even talk for a number of years, but she's back with us now, and we're so happy. So that's
I
good.
bet you wish I could not talk sometimes.
Oh no, we love to have you talk, Susan. All right.
Oh.
So Anne Marie, let's. I'm here if you need me. You take it away, buddy.
Oh, thank you, my brother. Thank you, my sister. Well, I want to welcome everyone. Guess what? Armageddon did not come in the autumn of 1975, and it is New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2022. Can you believe it? I want to welcome you all into Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower program. And today I was thinking of the theme of how our human rights were violated. I just never thought of it in that way. I think a lot of you guys have heard of basic human rights, where we all have the right to be able to express our opinion, to be treated with respect, allowed to pursue our dreams, the pursuit of happiness, whatever. And basically the right to be free from tyranny and control from authority figures over us in a overbearing way. I just never heard of thought of it before, but Barbara Anderson, I've been listening to her a lot in the archives on YouTube, and she mentioned that those raised in the Watchtower basically had, had their human rights violated. And then she said, and then as parents, we turn around and do the same thing to our children. And that really hit me hard, because as a child, I just remember being very, very happy with my brothers and my mom, a single mom, that she was a great mom, loving, sang to us, read to us, fed us. She took such good care of us. We were just happy kids. And then the Watchtower came into our life, and just things changed and took away everything that made us happy. And we had no choice. We had to obey and be a good Jehovah's Witness child. And everything was taken away. Our right to education, our right to think of a future. We didn't even think we were going to grow up. We were all told we weren't going to grow up. And, you guys know all this. But I never thought of it as a human rights violation, because we were not given a choice. We were denied the right to have a choice, to think for ourselves, to want to go and do this and want to go and do that. And when she said, and then we turned around and did it to our children, I reflected back on how I treated my own children when I went back to the Watchtower. I took away their right to a childhood. I took away their right to birthdays and to be looking forward to Christmas and making Christmas cookies and, decorating the tree and seeing presents wrapped with their name on it under the tree. And they never got to have anything to look forward to, all because I took away their human rights. I violated their human rights. Anyway, that's what has hit me this week. And I just wondered, if I could just put it out there, if anybody could look back on how life was for them in the Watchtower, in the sense of realizing that your human rights were violated if you were raised in the Watchtower under that pressure, under that tyrannical, never-ending pressure. And did you raise your children in the same way? Did you, meaning well, of course, in the name of serving Jehovah, did you as well, kind of violate your children's human rights? Any thoughts, if anybody kind of gets what I'm saying? Okay, well, if anybody doesn't want to, think about it, I know it's a busy day. It is New Year's Eve. My granddaughter has a really nice little shop. She's a nail technician, but she's very good. She's a little artist. And
hey,
she
Ann?
has yes. Hello, my brother, what's on your mind?
You talk about the human rights. That's exactly right. The human rights part of this organization or that organization is awful. And it's awful, especially to our young ones. Now, I didn't grow up in the truth, but I did, I was in it for 18 years, after I left the police force. But let me say, that is, you're so right that even the beginning, my kids were young, and I did, we celebrated Christmas for a few years, and then, it stopped. But the things that these kids have to go through already in this world, to now take everything from them, and these men are living up in a compound and don't understand that where we live, it's not a picket fence, white picket fence and all this and stuff, and people don't even get together and have dinner. I remember growing up, we at least sit at the table. None of that happens. So it's bad. But then when you add all this to it, and these restrictions, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, in the Sophia and Caleb videos, when they don't even, Caleb sniffed the cupcake, and he came off the bus like he was ready to commit suicide. And this is what they do. And for the life of me, I can't understand why people don't understand this. They don't see this. Are you that close? I mean, human rights are definitely being broken. And in Belgium, this one group actually got their lawsuit. They what do they say here? They they ruled in his favor. They said, hey, wait. You're not allowed to violate someone's rights. Just like you said, you know, I have a right to disassociate myself, which I did in this organization because of the CSA. I did that, and it cost me. It cost my wife. I mean, we're still together, but it's shaky at best. And for what? For something that they have to see this. How blind can people be? It's fascinating that how, you know, and when I was in the police department, we had to do a training course, and it was sensitivity. It was called sensitivity training. And what they did was they took us all at, you know, at certain times to the Washington D.C. to the Holocaust Museum, and it was a way to show us that if one man can make millions of people follow him, and then for them to kill women and children like it's nothing, you would say to yourself, damn, could that really happen again? These men are doing the same exact thing. Their followers are following them, and they're going to follow them right off the cliff. When you start messing with our children, all bets are off. That's it's over. And I can speak about this because I was a victim in an orphanage when I was abandoned with my parents abandoned me in New York, and so I was in that situation. My siblings and I, for several years, were being molested. And so when I found that out in this organization, when I found out what they really are about, I said, "Oh my God!" I told my wife, "I can't do it. I can't do this anymore."
Okay, Albert, yes. We are going to have you on a little later. Okay, so can we save the rest of your testimony for when you're supposed to come on and give your testimony? We have set aside time for you, but I really appreciate what you have said. One thing I really appreciate, Albert, that you did bring up is one of the methods of their violating children's human rights is the horrible, cold, tyrannical manipulation of their young, fragile minds and emotions in those Sophia and Caleb videos. The one that you brought up, making them feel guilty, like, oh my God, God doesn't love me anymore. I'm going to die at Armageddon because I ate a cupcake during a birthday party at school. But the one that really you made me think of is the Caleb and Sophia video where they were in the Kingdom Hall and they were nudged. They have to stay awake and pay attention because they might miss some important information and die at Armageddon because they weren't paying attention at the meeting, which probably was at night past their bedtime, right? Is that not a violation of their human rights as a child?
Wow. Yeah.
Right. So as far as your testimony, my brother, we are all looking forward to listening to you. I hope that you don't get too excitable because I know you have been going through a mess. And also, I'd like to make sure that your phone comes in nice and clear. Are you on speakerphone?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I don't have.
I wanted to. I'm sorry. What was that?
It sounds bad? Is it breaking up?
No, it doesn't sound bad. It just sounds a little shaky. So we want to be able to hear you nice and clear. Okay, I'd like you to just give me a moment.
Sure.
Everyone listening, we have listened to Albert, who will be coming on later and giving his testimony. He has a very painful story to share, and I've been looking forward to listening to him. But he has brought up some good comments regarding tyranny and violation of human rights. We didn't just have our human rights violated because we were tricked. We were constantly kept in under tyrannical control, under iron-fisted control, because the Watchtower uses subliminal hypnotic indoctrination in order to program their members. And if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, all you have to do is think of any Jehovah's Witness that you've ever known, including yourself. Think back of how normal they can act, but then how they act or react if you challenge in any way their programming, they all have the same knee-jerk, automatic, crazy responses: anger, defensiveness, and aggressiveness.
Yes, Ann, you're absolutely. They say the same exact thing. They say the same. If you challenge something, their wording is the same. That's a very good point.
Yes.
Yeah.
They use the same quote unquote argument. They start spouting Watchtower rhetoric as if they are actually sharing with you their own thoughts. And it's not their thoughts, because they all act the same. They use the same rhetoric, and they use the same vocal intonation, the same emotional anger. And it's not even logical.
No.
So this is evidence of the program, because you cannot have people all over the world, all with their own personalities and their own situation. You could be in the supermarket talking to a Jehovah's Witness about how the prices are going up and everything's normal as blueberry pie, and you say anything that has to do with their programming, it's all the same, and it's crazy. So we know that, but what I am concerned with, and thank you again, Albert, for bringing it up, it's what they have been doing to the children. It's bad enough that they have been making the adults feel like they're not doing enough. They need to give more money. They need to put in more time. They need to work harder. They need to volunteer more. Do, obey, be loyal, don't question. But the children, when they started those Sophia and Caleb videos, at first they thought, oh, they're so cute. Oh, they're so sweet. But then they show little Sophia with her little 50 cents in her hand, and she's going to get an ice cream, and she's looking forward to that ice cream. And then the ice cream man comes, and she runs out to go get her ice cream. And then right there at the ice cream truck, she thinks in her mind, oh, the worldwide preaching work. And she changes her mind. She holds on to that money and she puts it in the contribution box. How manipulative is that they want to take our children's ice cream money? Oh, but they didn't stop there. How long was it until they started getting on to the children about their allowance? Oh, we need to break open our piggy bank and send our money to the Watchtower for the worldwide witnessing work. Remember that? Is that not a violation of the human rights? Because they are exercising mind control over children in a sneaky, roundabout way to where they don't even know it, on top of taking away their right to have birthday or Christmas or any other holidays, and taking away their right to look forward to education or a career. Any thoughts, anyone? You can talk, Albert. I just want to make sure everybody feels. I just don't want you to start giving me. Just don't give me your testimony. Hold on there, Albert. Yes, sister, go ahead.
Hi, it's Susan. I was just thinking, that when you train a child, just like the Bible says, when you train them, they'll never turn aside from it. So these Caleb and Sophia videos may seem very innocent on the surface, but they're programming someone for a lifetime. So as we've known from many who give their testimonies on your program, they have a hard time taking that Watchtower thinking out of their brain. So they're not only programming a child with Caleb and Sophia, they're programming adults as well.
Good point.
Oh, Susan, you always bring out the best stuff. And, you know, the thing is, a child's mind is forming. You know, it's like in Corinthians when the Apostle Paul said, when I was a babe, I had the traits of a babe. When you're a little child, you trust your parents, you trust your grandparents, you trust those adults who are in your life, who are there to teach you and guide you. And so their little brains are forming. It's bad enough they use mind control techniques on adults. But thank you for saying that, Susan. You always bring out such good points. Go ahead, Albert. You wanted to say something?
No, and like you said, the Sophia video, that every time you see them, they're depressed, right? The incident happens and they're not supposed to do, or you can't be people's friends, and they come home and they're depressed. That's the message you want to send to our kids? They come home and they're so upset because, remember, Caleb didn't even eat the cupcake. He just put his nose in it. It's this. When I saw that one, I know you saw that one really hit me because he comes off the bus, his head down. You know, usually when people's heads down coming off the bus is because they failed the test, they're not doing well in school, not because he was gonna, you know, he even thought about touching that cupcake. And then they used the illustration of, you remember they used the Bible illustration of comparing that to when what's his face, you know, denied Jesus. I mean, you got to be kidding me. So yes, I believe those videos are nothing but propaganda. They're killing our children. Yes, ma'am.
Exactly, and that is so sad because, you know, it's hard enough being a little child, but to pile on such guilt because their little consciences are so sensitive because they want to please Jehovah God and they want to feel accepted and loved. And if they feel that they have failed, it's worse than just feeling like you've disappointed your parents. Now, Jehovah God, the almighty creator of the universe, doesn't love you anymore, or he's mad at you, or he's frowning at you. And, you know, and just, can you imagine the heavy burden? That is just so wrong. Human rights violation. And so anyway, thank you for bringing that up. And Susan, thank you so much for bringing up the part of, you know, it's not just there, it's programming that stays in there, even if it's very deep. Even when you get out, that programming is so entrenched. It's hard to shake. You know, even today, I still miss it. And that's a shame. As much as I know, I still miss the organization. I miss that sense of, oh, the whole association of brothers and that feeling that I was in God's organization, the truth, the only true religion. I can't believe I still have that longing and I have to pay attention to it. Go ahead. Somebody wanted to comment?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, my brother.
Hi, this is Eric from Rhode Island, and I just wanted to say, like, to go along with, like, was it Albert, his name?
Yes.
I just wanted to go along with, I don't even think Caleb ate the cupcake, did he? He, like,
nope.
he thought about eating it. And then they compare him, you make him feel like he was the Apostle Peter that denied Christ. I mean, how in the hell is that a justifiable a comparison? He's a kid. He didn't witness Jesus Christ himself and be an apostle of him. I mean, all he was at school, and there was a cupcake. Who cares? It's insane the level of control that they are putting on their children, and I find it offensive. When I was a kid, I was like 17 years old when I was trying to get baptized. Worst decision of my life. Little did I know. But I actually got denied to be baptized. The elder told me that I didn't know who or what the governing body were. And it's like, I'm not here for that. That should have been a wake-up call for me right then and there. But I was a young kid trying to take care of, not take care of, but to impress, just get the respect from my parents and love, you know, do the right thing, be a good boy. But if I would have had a more free thinking mind, I would have said, hell no, because I'm not baptizing myself to men. I'm baptizing myself to God.
Yes.
And that's a huge problem in my regard. And when I didn't wake up from it right away, but when I reflected on it, I'm like, wow, that's what it's all about. It's the governing body. My wife and I are both disfellowshipped, and she tried to get reinstated. And they ended up, it's a long story, I won't get into it, but they ended up denying her for not respecting the governing body as God's channel. And so why are we in this again? Is my point. Like, I did this for God, and this has nothing to do with God. It has everything to do with 8 men's egos.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for saying it. It has nothing to do with God. You know, Susan said it. I wish I could remember how Susan said it. It was a while back, but she said something to the effect of basically it's all about the pocketbook, the wallet, the money. It's all about your money.
Power.
It's not about your spirituality. It's about them having power and control over you so they can get everything out of you. I mean, can you imagine how many thousands of people have given their time and worked for free to the benefit of this organization.
Yeah.
I was going to
This
say
is about
too
dealing with blessing.
about human rights. I just wanted to touch about the human rights topic, if I could.
Please do.
Yeah, elders. I've never been prejudiced. Never. I am now towards elders. I don't like them. They're not appointed by the Holy Spirit. Some of them are just window cleaners. They don't have psychiatric or any kind of like help to that community. And I think that I counted that I've been in and out of the elders room 13 or 14 times. They tortured me. I called my cousin was slandering me, a woman, and I called her a see you next Tuesday, and I got in the room for that. I mean, when have I not been in the room? I was both physically and sexually abused, and I needed marijuana to keep me down, to keep me like from being angry. And I got disfellowship for that 2 times and brought in the room as a minor at 16 years old. And there was an announcement. This is not a loving organization by any means.
By any means.
By any means. I mean, they do take our civil rights. They didn't give me the right to decide what medicine that I need and what I don't, you know. I mean, in all honesty, in this day and age that we live in, if you're not with it, it's okay. But marijuana there's not medical crack. There's medical marijuana because it actually does help. And for someone who has bleeding disorder and very bad psychological issues, it's an incredible gift from God. And God says in the Bible that anything that comes from seed is from him. So I think it's in Exodus or I don't know, Leviticus, I can't remember. But I digress.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Yeah,
it was in Genesis. I used to think the same thing.
Genesis.
You know, it's not like it's a drug to me. I mean, I always thought that's what the Indians were smoking in their peace pipe. I mean, who feels like hurting somebody when you're all sitting around smoking a doobie, right? So,
I agree.
In Genesis, it says something about all the vegetation that God made to grow from the ground is for the benefit and enjoyment of mankind. Basically, it's what it says in Genesis.
Thank you. You corrected the scripture. Yeah, I got it a little wrong. You're right.
But what I was thinking about, you said you were hauled in front of a judicial committee approximately 14 times. That's another human rights violation. They haul you in with no perfect charges. Nothing's written down. You know, you're being charged, you're being summoned, you know, here's a ticket, you're under arrest. I mean, there's no paperwork. You don't have a right to a phone call to call for legal aid or to call an attorney. You're not allowed any witnesses to defend you. You're not allowed to present your case. You're not allowed to have a jury of your peers. And everything's in secret. I mean, how many violations of our human rights is just the practice of the Judicial Committee? Tell me, Eric.
Well, you want to hear something funny? The first time that I I want to be clear that when I haven't had that many judicial cases, sometimes it's just 2 men, but I've been in the elders room that many times. That's what I meant. But when I was 16 years old, I smoked some weed and I got it from my friends at school. Yeah, they were homeschooled and we all had fun together. It was innocent, really, but they caught up to us and we got caught. And in the elders room, there were my parents and 2 brothers. Like they're no brother of mine, but 2 elders. And one of the elders said, "How much weed do you buy at a time?" And I didn't really want to tell him, so I just said a dime bag. And he goes, "Oh, they still do dime bags?" And then he told me and confessed that he used to do it. And I'm just like, what's the point of this?
What they charge you? I want to know.
I got an announcement that Eric blah 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 has been. There was a situation with him, and it has been handled. But the funny thing is that there was an elder's son involved with it, my buddy, and they gave the same announcement for him, but he was baptized. I wasn't. So the father totally, because he was an elder, he totally like swept that under the rug. Why did I get the same punishment as somebody who was a baptized person?
Wow. There's no rhyme or reason. It's all about, I think one of you said it, it's all about their egos and their love of power and control. It is just, and when the more you really think of it, it's human rights violations in every way, just like they hurt children, how they, protect the pedophiles, how they don't really do anything about the brother who beats up on his wife or treats her like dirt. Even when she gets so desperate, she goes crying to the elders. She's just hoping maybe they can talk to her husband, so maybe he won't be so mean to her. And all she generally gets is, well, stop annoying your husband. Well, what do you do to keep irritating him? Well, maybe you should be more submissive. Are you giving him his due? Give me a break. They violate human rights all over the place.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And then
It is.
You have Let, who talks about every video that I watched of him about children. How does he have the right to talk? I'm not saying people that don't have kids don't know about kids, but how does this man get up there and talk about kids and too much play, and he talks about, and he doesn't even have them. He has no kids. And then you would think there would have been a mass exodus as soon as he said that babies are like the enemy of God.
Amen.
Come
Yeah,
on.
I couldn't believe he said that.
I can't
You
believe
could say
either.
another way. Just say they're inherited with sin. Because you're telling me that how can he be an enemy yet? He's my grandson. I have a grandson right now, a year old. I hug him and hold him. Yeah, and I said, God, I pray that And then when I asked my folks, I said, listen, everything ever happened to you, I want him. Although Albert, you can't. You're not a Jehovah's Witness. So she's probably going to go with the other family. I'm like, wow. So, man, human rights is a big thing with me, especially to see it. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That is such great points. Thank you. I'm just like listening, going, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Can anyone hear me?
Want to comment? Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, praise the Lord Jesus Christ. You could just call me Brother Wes. I'm a born again Christian. I got saved September 1st of 2020. I made a profession of faith at 14. Maybe I did get saved at 14, but can you guys hear me?
So how does your
Hello?
We all hear you, dear. We hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so so I was raised in the JW cult. And the Lord used a book by a man by the name of Fritz Springmeier, great book, Watchtower and the Masons. Any of you guys familiar with that? Okay, so Charles Taze Russell was a Freemason. I'm sure some of you are aware of that.
Yeah, we know, dear. Go ahead.
Okay, so have you guys been keeping up with, which I hear what you're talking, you said there's a new like Sophia cartoon or whatever, Caleb Sophia cartoon, where there's like they like shame this kid for a birthday party or something?
Mm-hmm.
That is so weird, because I mean, have you ever noticed there's like double standards in the Watchtower?
oh my
Where
God.
like an elder...
No.
Really? I'm just preaching to the choir here, am I?
Go ahead,
So
dear.
I remember, as a Jehovah's Witness kid, going to a kid's birthday party because of some loophole. So it's a little strange, like just how they operate. That there are like weird loopholes that people can get around it. It's just very disturbing how they'll shame someone for one thing, but you could do the same thing through a loophole. I can't remember what it was, but somehow I was able to go to that kid's party back in high school or middle school, I think.
Well, sometimes it depends who you know, who you are, who you're connected to. You just never know how, you're going to be perceived. I mean, one person might get in trouble for getting a dresser from the Goodwill and sanding it down and refinishing it and painting different little cute things on the dresser, and like hearts and flowers and whatever. And then somebody comes over and says, oh, that's so cute. Oh, I did that. Do you like, oh, it has hearts. That has to do with Valentine's. You shouldn't do that. And goes and reports you to an elder. Now you have to take it off. It just depends. You never know what thing gets. It's like Jesus said. Yeah. You strain out the gnat, but you gulp down the camel. They will nitpick anything, even if it's microscopic. Can't have wind chimes. Oh, you can't do this. You can't say bulletin board, for God's sake. You can't say bulletin board. It has to be an information board. You can't have a potluck. You have to say covered dish. I mean, what is wrong with
What was
people?
wrong with bulletin board? What was wrong with that?
Who knows? Maybe because it had the word bull in it. Oh, and that has to do with worship. Who knows? Half the time, I don't think they know.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
There you go. There are all kinds of little descriptive adjectives we can come up with when it comes to Watchtower and the stupid decisions they make. But it's like every little thing. And then these poor program Watchtower drones, for some reason, because they're not allowed to think for themselves, but they go around nitpicking on everybody else and henpecking each other and, counseling each other. You know how the older sisters think they can go ahead and counsel? This is wrong, and you did that too much, and not enough, and not too high, and it's too much. I'm starting to get.
I remember when I started to have my wake up call before the Lord gloriously saved me. I remember I was reading one of their perversion of the Bible, the New World Order translation, as I call it. The New World Translation. I was reading the Bible, right? And this old lady comes up to me and says, you can't just read the Bible, you have to read the publications.
And do you remember what excuse they used for having to read the publications along with the Bible?
I can't remember. It's been such a long time. I've gotten away from so much of it.
They would say that the publications were absolutely necessary because they were Bible study aids, that the Watchtower publications helped to organize Bible subjects so that you didn't get confused, like seeing what the Bible really says.
Yeah.
They will tell you.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Like in the Revelations book, some went back to Christendom because they went and got a spirit of independence, started reading the Bible without the publications.
Yeah, and we were warned against that way long ago by Brother Russell. If you keep studying the studies in the scriptures, you will be enlightened scripturally. But it's been shown that if somebody stops reading the studies in the scriptures, within 2 years, you'll go back to those pagan beliefs of Christendom. Oh, you mean like what the Bible really says, which doesn't support Watchtower? Ooh. Anybody want to comment? Anybody feel free? Star six. We're having an interesting conversation, very illuminating.
Hey, Anne Marie, can you hear me?
Absolutely. Go ahead, dear.
I was just thinking about some of the things we couldn't do. I remember back in the 70s, we couldn't watch Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie because they said it was glorifying magic. Yeah. And I remember the elder gave a talk about it, and he was saying that, people that watch those shows, they're spiritually weak and they're glorifying witchcraft and blah, 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 blah. And I remember my mother, she told us we couldn't watch it anymore. That was my favorite show. What was the show? Bewitched, with Elizabeth Montgomery. You remember Bewitched? And I'm not too familiar. But then we couldn't watch it. And then they were saying that, the sisters, they came down hard on the sisters for watching soap operas because they said it was
I do remember that.
They said it was glorifying adultery, and so it was just so many things we just couldn't do. And it was just life was just a misery, growing up because you couldn't do nothing.
Yeah, I remember at an assembly district convention, I think it was 83 or 84. The talk I remember was the music that debases, and it was all about all this music that's in the world, and it's designed to pull you in by its music or whatever. And my kids and I went home and we destroyed our entire collection of Beatles and Fleetwood Mac and Pink Floyd and all the music that we loved, tearing up all our cassette tapes and breaking up our record albums. If they find anything and they will tear it apart and demonize it and make you feel guilty if you like it. Go ahead.
Hello. Hi.
Yes, go ahead.
Anne-Marie. Hi, this is Hitley. How are you?
Hitley,
Okay.
I have been girlfriend.
Oh, I've been listening to you too. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to agree with what you're saying about the music and about TV. And you're right. Every single itty-bitty thing that the Watchtower does is so nitpicky on every single thing. I remember when I was into Star Trek, and I still am, they were trying to say, Mr. Spock looked demonized, and because of the, his pointed ears and the way they had the makeup on Leonard Nimoy, actor Leonard Nimoy, and trying to tell us not to even watch, what's that, Lost in Space and shows, Irwin Allen shows like, what is that? Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Time Tunnel, all those other things, Batman, and they didn't want us to have anything. They didn't want us, and they still don't want us to have anything because they are crazy behind Tony Morris with his drunken self is talking about, instead of going to these what do you call those theme parks, go to Bethel and all this other stuff, It's really, really crazy. That's all I wanted to say, hon. And it's great talking to you, too.
Oh,
Hitley.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, my God. Is that Pixie? Hi, Pixie.
Hi,
Happy
Pixie.
New Year.
Hey.
Happy New Year to you. Go ahead, dear. What's on your mind?
Oh, I just heard Hitley's voice there. I just wanted to say hi to everybody. They were talking that they were going to have a little show train there at Bethel the kids could ride around in. I guess they were trying to convince them they were at an amusement park or something. I thought that was kind of silly.
Are you kidding me, Pixie? Where'd you hear that?
I heard that a couple years back.
Oh,
they
honey,
were
you know
have a little
fun.
They were going to have a little train.
Oh, that would have been nice.
Yeah, it was probably like, a bunch of little golf carts hooked together like a train or something. I don't think it was a real train.
Yeah, but when do they ever do anything for children? When do they do anything that doesn't serve them or suit their agenda?
Well, that was the point I was going to make in my notes this week, because I try to work all week to have something to bring to the table. And one of the main points that I noted in my research this week that, they make all the guilt trips of give us your time, give it to us. And it's so that we don't have our own life.
You know what? You're so right. Thank you so much for saying it, Pixie. I've tried to tell people what people do not realize is when you are facing baptism, it's like being jumped into a street gang. Once you get dunked into the Watchtower, they own you. You have literally, and not just metaphorically, but literally signed your life away. You now have publicly declared that you belong to Watchtower. They run your life. They own you. They tell you what you can do, how to dress, who to marry, how to raise your children, how to live your life, what kind of job you can have. And it's a shame, shame, shame.
And the most valuable thing we have here on earth, it's far too short, is our time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, dear. Thank you, Pixie. Go ahead, dear.
Hi, my name is Stephan, calling from Illinois. One of the things that I just wanted to talk about that angers me when we think about what we lost being raised as Jehovah's Witnesses was the intellectual stagnation. I remember even as a teenager feeling like, what are we really learning here? You know, we get dressed up, come to these meetings, and sit down and learn what? And discuss what? And I remember asking an elder, I said, so from the time that Jesus died, maybe a couple of generations after that with the apostles and all of that, there was nothing that went on in the world of Christianity until the world was blessed with the birth of Charles Taze Russell. There was nothing that transpired for 2,000 years that we could read about and discuss and talk about other than these Watchtower magazines. And he was like, no, there was nothing else. It was just Satan running amok. And so now, you know, Jehovah is cleaning things up and all the rest of that. And then when you come out and you see the volumes of information from the church fathers all the way up to the present about how all of this religious theology came to light, how the Bible came to light, on and on and on.
Right.
And you just think, I wasted all my time basically learning nothing. And there's so much to learn, and now you're spending the rest of your life basically playing catch up, and it's just infuriating.
It is infuriating. And, you know, one of the worst things that I realized personally for me is all of us who got sucked in to the Watchtower, we really truly believed in our heart that we were in God's organization and so on. When we have literally been able to come back enough and get enough of our brain back, we realize our desire to be right with God, to you know, do right, whatever, to understand the Bible and so on, our trust was violated and betrayed. Our desire to be godly and do the right thing before God was betrayed and manipulated and used and abused while they were draining us dry to get every drop of blood out of us that they could. And you know, it's really fun when you think of human rights violations. How many stories have we heard that when those who have served faithfully are no longer of any use to the Watchtower, they just get forgotten. If they can get their house away from them, if they can get power of attorney away from them, then they put them in a nursing home and just get left. They're gone.
Yep. Yeah, I know the last congregation that I attended, they had about 12 older sisters. And out of that 100 and something body of member congregation, there was only about 5 sisters that really went out and kind of took care of those older sisters in terms of taking them to the doctor and medication and just all of that kind of stuff. The whole rest of it. And I remember saying I said, why don't we have a ministry for those kinds of individuals where you just volunteer some time, go over to their house, just spend time. Sometimes people just want to spend time. If they can't get out and associate, they don't have any association. And this was before all of these, Zoom and all of that. If they couldn't get to the meeting, they didn't even have the phones hooked up. They finally got that, so at least they could call in. But as soon as the meeting was over, that was kind of it. And I remember the reaction was, well, we don't have time for that because our activities all needs to be in the field ministry. And I just really started getting turned off from Jehovah, even before I realized that the theology was just completely insane. But just the lack of regard for people was really starting to be offensive to me. And I lost respect for the elders. I just wouldn't even, they'd say stuff. I'd say hello and walk right past them. I really just didn't give a hoot. And I would just, when I saw a need, I just step in. You know, if there was a kid that needed to talk, I'd talk. If there was somebody that needed help, I can't tell you how many cars I've fixed, you know, for witnesses, people I've helped move. I just said, you know what, I'm just going to be that person. And I got more joy out of that than I did anything else. But anyway, I'm going to shut up and let somebody else talk. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back.
Please don't go. Okay. Stephan, I want to thank you so much for sharing that. It seems that what I call sacred service to me is taking care of your brothers and your sisters who need help. when you're not getting benefit from it. You're not reporting time. You're not looking like you're some upstanding, making the organization look good kind of Jehovah's Witness, but somebody who is taking care of his brothers and sisters from his heart. And I thank you for doing that. Who said they're back?
It's me. I don't know if you guys realize, do you realize like the whole like time thing and all, do you realize it's like a copy of Scientology?
Okay, to what are you referring again, dear?
The whole like the engineered competition that they do, the divide and conquer they do among the different brothers.
No, I didn't. But generally, cults have a lot in common, even though they might have different names, and you know they generally use the same basic tools.
These are ancient tactics.
May I just mention one thing when he referenced Scientology? There was a report, there's a YouTuber named Aaron something or the other, and I just thought this was fascinating. He referenced a report, I guess that was just released, and I'm going to go do a lot more research and find out exactly where the report is, how it was compiled. But in any event, it was a poll of the least popular religions right now. And the least popular religion was anything associated with witchcraft and the Church of Satan and all of that. The second least popular religion, or least liked religion, or least favorite religion was Scientology. And guess who the third least popular, least liked, least respected religion was? It was the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Wow.
And I saw the list as best as I could see it because I was on my mobile phone. And there were tons and tons of religions listed, Christian and non-Christian, including Muslim and all of that, all on this list. So there were probably 20, 25, 30 religions on there. And Jehovah's Witnesses come in at number 3 behind Scientology and witchcraft in the least liked religion. And if you go and you look up this YouTuber, Aaron, something or the other, he does nothing but stuff from Scientology. He's kind of like us for Scientology, born and raised and then left. And now he speaks about it. He's interviewed famous people, including Mike Render. So he's well known. And he just came out with that video this week, and it's fascinating.
I'll have to check that out. I know the founders of Scientology copied Rutherford's business strategy.
Well, it's just like the host said, that there's only one playbook for cults, and they all use it. It's just what they pick and choose and what they emphasize more and what they de-emphasize, and it's all one playbook. So it's all the same thing. It's all to make money and control people's life. How they go about it, it's all kind of the same. At the same time, they're all a little bit different, but they all pull from the same playbook.
I think the witnesses have some things the others don't, like the blood doctrine that could lead to death. And Jordan Maxwell, he's gone now a year, but the late, great Jordan Maxwell is on episode 21 and on YouTube. Episode 21, he goes in depth to the time that he was a witness.
Wow.
So you might want to look at that.
Thank you so much for bringing up Jordan Maxwell. I became aware of Jordan Maxwell through Kim and Mikey on YouTube. They interviewed him. I think they had like maybe 4 shows, and it shows a picture of him, Jordan Maxwell, on Mike and Kim's YouTube channel. But he brought up that he was actually invited to be a researcher in the research department. And he is a great researcher like Barbara Anderson. And he thought about it and he thought, no, he said, I know there's something wrong with this organization. And he said, if I get in too deep, I might not be able to get out. But he said he was invited to go to dinner with Raymond and some others at a restaurant across at the convention site. And he said one of the persons in the dinner party was a young Greek gentleman who was a master with numbers, who was an accountant with Watchtower. And he said he innocently asked the guy, he says, you know, I understand your organization's bought up all the like $6 million of property and spending all this money, and where does all that money come from? And he said the Greek guy was kind of sheepish and said, Well, we don't actually have that money. What we have is, I think it was J.P. Morgan and Chase National Bank from the Rockefellers. He said they get 2 checks or 2 accounts or whatever. Basically, they can write a check against those banks for any amount, and it's covered. And I'm like, whoa, there must be some shady stuff going on there.
That's exactly right. And
Well,
see,
you
now
wanna look
I
at-
asked Barbara.
On
I asked
YouTube, you
Barbara
want to look at
Anderson.
episode 21. It'll say Jordan Maxwell, and it says Dogmatic Religion, Jordan Maxwell, episode 21, and the name that it's under is XVONE. So if you go to XVONE, there's all the Jordan Maxwell radio interviews that were done before he died. They're nice, crisp audio, and there's 24 of them, and 21 is the one that has the witnesses.
Thank you,
Yeah, and see
Dixie. I couldn't. Thank you. Go ahead and do your comment, dear.
Okay, again, this is Stefan. That was a question that I asked Barbara Anderson when she started coming on the 6 screens this last couple of Saturdays, and I asked her who really runs Watchtower. And I know that she distilled it down to the writing department, the propaganda department is what I call it, that keeps their message on point. And then, of course, you have the legal department and all the stuff that they are involved in, as we know, with the CSA lawsuits and all the rest. But I was also thinking exactly what you just mentioned. With all the money that they are loaned out to by banks, you cannot tell me that those banks don't have some input on Watchtower because Watchtower owes them so much money. So is that also part of the reason why they have to sell Kingdom Halls? Because they have to get this money and give it back. If the donations are not coming in, and then you're also paying out on these lawsuits, and then you have these loans coming due from J.P. Morgan and whoever, is that also part of why they're having to sell properties and put so much emphasis on donations coming in, which means that they have a say on how Watchtower operates and conducts itself. So it's a really slimy, murky organization, I tell you.
Wow, thank you so much for bringing that out loud. Like I said, I never heard of Jordan Maxwell except for Kim and Mikey, and then I started listening to him. And every show I can get my hands on, he brings up so much stuff, so many different levels. But he did a lot of research on the Watchtower. I think his wife was involved with it. And for him to be invited to be a researcher, wow. He said that he almost got sucked in, but then he realized, I'm going to find out stuff, and I know there's something wrong. And we know, I mean, while you can't have a job if it's in any way connected in any way with military or anything wrong, but yet Watchtower can be invested in bombers and bombs, and they can be invested in cigarette companies, tobacco companies, and they can be involved in like Lionsgate that produces movies that witnesses can't see, even porn. I mean, oh, that's okay. But if you do get a job at a military base, maybe being a nurse or something, oh, you can't do that, and then they quit you. Go ahead. Anybody want to comment?
Can I add something to you, hon?
Please do, dear.
The military base, it triggered me. I grew up in East Providence, Rhode Island, and I had a really good friend of mine, family, who were African American, and they were really sweet people. They took on excuse me. They took on like adoptions and foster. If it worked out, they would adopt them, and they were just so sweet people. He went to the Warring Kingdom Hall, and I did too. And the man never got baptized. And you know why? He was working as a postal office man at a military base, and they wouldn't let him get baptized, which was the greatest thing that ever happened because all of them left. And my friend ended up with a really good job, and his sister ended up in New York with being a fashion designer. and the whole family left. The only one that was baptized that got probably shunned was the wife, but they all had their family, so it didn't matter. But that triggered me. I'm like, because the guy delivers mail at a military base, he can't be a servant of God? What a joke this is.
Yeah, that is such a great point. That is such a great point. There we go.
Sweetest people.
Straightening out the
They were the sweetest people.
Yeah. But this is just another example of how they strain out the gnat, but yet when it comes to them, they can invest in tobacco companies and porn companies and bombers if it suits them. In other words, if it makes them that money, then it's okay. It's like talk
Rules
about
for
somebody
me, but
mentioning
not for
double
me.
standards. Exactly. Do as we tell you, not don't do what we do.
And if I can just add one more thing, not to digress, but about entertainment and the Witch show. I actually know that show, and yeah, my parents watched it anyways, but it was like not cool. And I just recently found out from a subreddit on Reddit about Are You a Jedi? And it was just kind of silly, but it was about XJWs. And the comment section is what got me interested, because it kept saying how people weren't allowed to have Star Wars stuff. And I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. In fact, Star Wars was such a big part of my life as a Jehovah's Witness in my childhood that when they re-released the films and added some scenes to them at the cinemas, an elder and about 20 of us all got dressed up in outfits and went to the show. And the elder got a warning that all right, we ended up on the news, so that wasn't good, I guess. And the elder is waving his lightsaber sword. It was pretty funny. And yeah, he got in trouble for that, and he wasn't allowed to do that. But it was so innocent, and we weren't doing anything wrong. And I couldn't believe that I heard that people were saying they had to throw out all their Star Wars stuff. I'm like, what? My family raised me on it. Like, there was a culture based around it. Heck, I would stay home to watch the film if it came on TV. I just don't understand how, my point being, I know I'm getting off, but my point being is there's so much inconsistency. It's like Star Wars is good for some congregations, Harry Potter is not good. This is good, Bewitched is good, Bewitched isn't. Everybody has an opinion, and it's all lame. And that's my point that I wanted to make.
Hey, Anne Marie, this is Rick. This is Rick. We got what about Albert? We don't want to leave him stranded.
Oh no, I don't.
Well, we're coming up. Well, we're coming up on the news here. We're gonna be 7 o'clock very shortly, so we might want to bring him up. Yep.
Oh, okay. How much time do we have for Albert, my brother?
Well, yeah, we're gonna bring him on, and we want to hear his story. And if he goes a little over 7, we'll give you to about 7:15. Okay.
Okay, minute wise, it will help me.
Okay,
20
well,
minutes.
okay, well, that'll be 7:15. Will be 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you,
Yep.
Albert. Are you there?
Oh yes. No, I'm listening to you guys, and it's
Albert, I'm so glad you're there. Albert, one moment.
Yes.
I want to thank all of you guys, Eric and Stefan and Pixie and Hidley and Susan and everybody who commented. I could talk with this subject all night, but we're bringing in Albert now from New York. He has been
nice to meet you, Albert.
Hey.
Go ahead, Albert.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm from New York, but I'm currently living in Maryland. But yes, I'm a diehard New Yorker, and I love the Yankees. So I don't want the Knicks. They stink, but still, I go for the
Okay,
Knicks.
we only have 20 minutes. We have barely. I am so sorry I took so much time. So
That's
we
okay.
want to just get your gist, okay?
Yeah, no problem, man. So anyway, I retired as a police officer, and I was married, and I was starting my family, and my wife had the Jehovah's Witnesses come by, and they, she's talking to them, and I was listening, but I was in the police department then, and I just said, I'm not going to have anything to do with this, and then shortly after about 5 years, when I retired, I I said, you know what? I want to be near her and be with her. I loved her. So, this is the best thing. So I did it. And then, at first I really did it just to be with her. Then I started liking it because we had the resources and the time. We would go overseas and to places, and I would go to like South Africa. And we were just trying to help people. And any time, I did that my whole life. I always, I was in the Army, the police department. I was in more organizations. And so when I did this, I felt good. I said, wow, instead of carrying a gun, I got a Bible here. And it was fun. And I was telling people, don't be depressed. There's hope. There's going to be something better. But then after a while, then I noticed. Then I started seeing things and hearing things. And I'd be honest, I would have never, ever been baptized if I knew the seriousness and the industrial scale. CSA, there's no way in God's green earth. Now, and the reason why I'm so adamant about this is because growing up in New York, my parents couldn't deal with us. They had 5 of us in 3 years and 9 months. I figured out I'm a twin. So they couldn't handle us. So the New York State took us and brought us to this orphanage upstate New York.
We want to make clear for people that CSA stands for Child Sexual Abuse. So you were hearing rumblings here and there of child sexual abuse issues going on in Watchtower. Is that correct?
That is correct. CSA,
okay, thank you.
So yes. The child sexual abuse was bad. So I sat there and now while I was at the orphanage, 7, 8, 9, 10, we were being molested, me and my siblings. But I dealt with it. I ended up going to different group homes. Make a long story short, I got and then I got married. So nothing. It was always embedded in my head. Something was there, but I would just keep it to myself because my focus now is to take care of my family and stay alive in the streets. So, but then when I started hearing things about the child sexual abuse and their policies and their rules and the 2-witness rule, I told my wife, I said, baby, I can't do this. I can't do this. So I wrote a letter. I wrote a disassociated letter to my congregation, and the first 2 paragraphs was about the child sexual abuses in the organization and their rules and their policies and the 2-witness rule and how they misinterpret that and so I left. Boy, did it cost me. To this day, it's costing me. I separated from my wife for 30-something years. I mean, still love her. Want to be with her. My daughter just had a grandchild. There's always friction. Okay, we're going to determine when you see. I mean, I have to work around their schedule. Like right now, I'm sitting at home by myself, and they're out because I didn't want to be with them and be among. Because I don't want to hear it. Everything's a trigger to me because of the fact that I went through it. The same thing the organization is doing is the same thing the orphanage did. They took a blind eye.
Wait. You haven't mentioned orphanage. Okay, for the sake of people who are listening, we only have a limited amount of time. You somehow ended up in an orphanage and you suffered in that orphanage, and somehow when you are in Watchtower hearing about child sexual abuse goings on, that really double hurt you. And then your wife doesn't support you when you decide you don't want anything more to do with this religion. You try to explain to her what happened to you as a child and how you trusted this organization and thought that you were in this loving God's organization, and then you find out the truth and you're hurt and you're disgusted, and now you're betrayed. Your wife supposed to love you, she's not supporting you. So if you can clarify that, because we want to make the most of the time we have. Okay, yes. Albert?
Yes. And that's exactly what happened. So when I knew this, so what I did some research, and I called some of my orphanage friends that grew up, and they're adults now, and I told them my situation, and they said, Albert, did you know this one counselor? I know the guy's name. I mean, you're not going to forget it. I knew this happened, camping trips and cars, and he was going to his. So I was being molested for 2 to 3 years by this guy, but I was jacked up because, I was alone. I was abandoned. There's no really love, and I don't know what was going on. But when I talked to this guy who was in the orphanage with me, show me the picture of the actual person, and I remember because he had these sideburns, and I said, oh my God, that's him. And I lost it. I mean, I was in a bad place. I was in a very bad place. I left. I told my wife, I can't be here. I can't see you, because when I see you, I see the organization, because you reek of it. You talk about it. You're head over heels over this thing. So I left, and I got away for 15, 16 months. I had a YouTube channel. It got thrown out because I was being
Albert, how did your wife react when she understood? Because you explained to her you were sexually abused, and your siblings, I understand, as well. Am I correct? In the orphanage? Mm-hmm. And she understood that when you realized that this horrible things these acts were going on in the Watchtower, and they were covering it up and threatening the poor victims, don't tell anybody or else you're in trouble. You couldn't stomach it anymore. Your wife knows how you feel and why you feel the way you feel. And how does she react? Does she report you? Does she say, what does she say? How does she react?
Well, the reaction is that she's indoctrinated. It didn't even, well, I'm sorry it happened. And, I tried everything and to get her back. I even tried leaving to say, okay, I'm going to be one of their numbers. Force my family to come back to me. Oh, no. They took the stand with the organization. They said, no, Albert, we love you, but we're not going to do it. And then if we do get together, we what do they call that? We tell you when and where and how, and it got so ugly. And I just, for the life of me, I couldn't figure this out. Why? I just couldn't figure out why my loving family would do that. 35 years, 4 kids, 4 grandboys, and all that.
What exactly did she do, Albert? Albert, what exactly are you talking about? You said you can't believe she would do this.
She is actually, she put a strain on this relationship. It's not, we are not together. We live together, but we're not together. We don't do anything as a family. She's right now having a party with some of her Jehovah's Witness friends and some worldly people. But so I can't.
So are you saying that you still live? You're not together, but you still live in the same house? I'm not understanding you. You're not being clear. I apologize.
Yes. That's okay.
Did she not clean out your bank account?
No.
No, she didn't. No. Okay, I have it mixed up.
You may have it mixed up. No, this is not. No. We when I did that separation, it put me in a place. But then I ended up getting my act together, and saying, okay, I'm just going to come home because I'm hurting. I want to see my family, and right. So I gave it, and I'm the one who said, okay, forget it. But now our agreement with my wife was that we try not to trigger each other, right? Don't speak about the organization. I don't want to hear about them because all I get is red, dead red. So we tried that, but every day she tries to sit there and talk to me about them. When are you going to come back? Or you're doing this, look at this, you should be coming. Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? And it really sets me off. And another thing that sets me off is the child sexual abuse. Because we're watching a movie, and if it has anything to do with a lot of these movies, they're going after a perpetrator who's committed sexual abuse to kids, I have to walk away. And I'm thinking in my brain that you're a part of an organization that does the same thing. And she doesn't understand. So it's put a strain on this thing. Right now, I'm in the process. I don't know what to do. I stay here because we just had a brand new grandson. and I adore him, and I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to sacrifice, and maybe one day he'll wake up, or maybe not. That's all I have. I mean, that's all I can hope for. That's it. And let me tell you,
my goodness,
what's going on now in Pennsylvania, which is a rock throw away for me, because I'm in top of Maryland here. When she saw that incident of the four people that got arrested, it was nothing. It's like I said, you hear that? Yeah, that's bad, right? Like, they're not even. It doesn't even faze them. They still haven't answered to me. Why did Let pick up that after he picked up the baby and said, "Look at this enemy of God." Why would somebody say that? Why would Morris take a match and blow it out and said, "This is what's going to happen to all the enemies of God"? He uses the image, so evidently I'd be the baby too. And it's nothing. They're not even phased. So, like you said, they're done. They're indoctrinated, and it's over. You couldn't. There's nothing you can do unless something happens to them personally. And it's
exactly.
It's bad. Yeah.
Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. Who is that? Somebody's trying to talk?
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask Albert a question. So it sounds like you're kind of like in a divided household type of thing.
Yeah. But we empty nest. Exactly. All my kids are gone. All my kids are gone. We're in this big house. All the kids are gone. We moved so far away that I'm not even near them. Near that culture, that element. I'm here by myself, and I love it because I go fishing, I do things, I go hunting, I do all this stuff. But you're right. I mean, it's divided, but we still get together. We're still intimate. It's the only thing is that we're not. It's like I'm a roommate. You get it? I'm a roommate.
I know what that's like.
I'm a roommate, and the benefit is I get to see my family, and they're not so much. My kids are so much not following the rules that the governing body says that they shouldn't be near disfellowship people. My daughter said they could take that and shove it because, she loves her dad and she knows I love her son, and it's not going to happen. You can't break that bond. I don't care. No man can break it. No man in the world is going to break that bond.
Yeah. I mean, it's just terrible what you're going through there, brother. You're under some hardcore attack by this wicked organization that's just so devoted to the destruction of the family. And are any of you guys familiar with the book Watchtower and the Masons by Fritz Springmeier? Have any of you guys ever read that?
Well, when you talk about it, I don't.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. I didn't see it, but when you talk about Masons, you always, and I look at their ring fingers. They got these rings on. Something's going on, and it's up to us.
There's an organized pedophile ring at the Watchtower headquarters.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yes, sir.
And some of them are involved in Satanism too.
Yes.
A lot of these people high up in the Watchtower are secretly, they profess one thing, they actually believe in it.
Look at Let and the way he looks like a tranquilibus. You think he's got to be possessed. He has nothing good to say about kids. You talk about human rights. This guy doesn't even like kids. So you know what? I appreciate you guys giving me this forum. And
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. Interrupt a little bit. The comment about him being involved in demonism or whatever, what's that based on? Is that based on people's speculations or is it fact? I'm just wondering because I'd like to know. That's a very interesting topic to me, and I have not been able to verify any.
We've got some problems with your phone. Hold on 1 second. We've got some problems with the fellow's phone there dialing in. Do you have YouTube on the background or something? It's giving off a bad sound. Yeah.
Well, you know what it is? I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had my Bluetooth speaker on, and that does not do a very good job. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So So I'll repeat my question. As far as the, you know, the stories about, you know, the certain satanic rituals that go on, and the channeling and stuff like that, that makes a lot of sense, but has been hard for me to verify. I'm interested in that, and I wish somehow I would know how to actually verify that, because that's a very, very important
Okay.
thing.
I don't know where it is in the archives, but Rick, in his old archives, the original archives of the 6 screens of the Watchtower, there are 2 different people who have given their testimonies who were actually forced to be involved in these satanic rituals. Albert, you want to wrap it up? We are out of time. Do you have
Well,
one
we've got
last thing to say,
Anne-Marie.
please?
Anne-Marie, hold on 1 minute here. Well, let's let Albert have his
Okay.
program. Let's let him talk. I told you I'd give you some more time so we can let Albert
Oh,
talk. Let's listen to Albert.
Yeah.
We don't want to put him under,
okay.
you know, I've been talking to him today. I
No.
told him you come on and he could tell his story. So I want to hear the story. So Albert, you've got, you know, you got
Yeah.
10 minutes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Albert.
Yeah, thank you guys, and really I appreciate Rick letting me on. It's hard getting in touch with people that you know, the ex Jehovah's Witnesses that have these platforms, and you know, and I'm hoping by doing this that maybe somehow my wife is listening to this thing, and just to let them know I love them. They know that's something that I don't have to prove. You know, I put 35 years into this thing, and I'm not going to break it up because 8 men sitting there and got they're tripping off this control and all this stuff. I'm not going to do it. But you know, I didn't become a police officer because I disliked people. You know, I didn't join the army because I wanted to. I want to help people. You know, and that's the whole basis of why I'm going full tilt with this. Because 1, it's my family. 2, it happened to me. Now I have the risk of my grandchild, who's going to be getting older and going to a kingdom hall, and the person he's sitting next to may be a pedophile because the governing body does not allow the congregants to know if this guy is a confessed pedophile. So when I talk to the elders, they say, well, they know. What the hell? They know. We don't know. We have the family. If this is getting bad, you guys, we have to do something because it's going to get worse, and it's getting worse. The shooting, it's just happening. And now what they're going to do, and I hope they do it, is they're going to go after these 8 men. Just like they did with the priesthood. They went and they locked these guys up. Go up there, and that guy Shapiro, who's now the governor, who was the attorney general, man, I could love and hug that guy to death. He said, we're going after them. They got to get rid of these rules, shunnings, and protecting these pedophiles. I sent Rick a whole bunch of information about 10 pedophiles. 9 of them were elders, and they were doing it for years. And they got caught, they got busted. But you know what? The organization doesn't take blame. As a matter of fact, in one of their articles, they write, we believe that the loving and protective parents, all the best are the best deterrent for child abuse. So they put it on the parents, but yet they tell us to trust the elders. Yeah, go ahead, Johnny. Go with elder so and so. Yeah, I trust. Go ahead. The guy that was taking this girl out for 12 more years and raping a girl. I mean, and this guy's laughing. And then these men, they got money coming out their ears. And I told my wife, you're a part of that. My family's a part of it because they're giving them money. You're saying, here's some money for the next lawsuit you guys are going to get. I'm lost, you guys. It just doesn't make sense to me. You know, I spent 20 years on the street helping people. I would bury somebody if I found him he was molesting a child. It's just, they don't even flinch. They don't flinch. So anyway, I'd love to, I'm going to listen to you guys, and I'll chime in on some of these things. But I want to thank Rick, Ann, and you guys so much that allow me to get this out off my chest, because it helps. And I'm still an activist, and I'm going to be an activist until these men go to jail and pay for what they're doing. It's got to stop, and we're going to be the ones.
Amen, brother. Hey, God bless you, Brother Albert. Is there a way we can stay in contact? Do you have a YouTube channel or something?
They did. They took me off because they said I had hate speech. I probably did in the beginning, yes. I did. I can hook you up with my email.
Yeah, let me put it down here. I'll write it down and I'll contact you. Because I'm with a group of guys, and we are going after legally, and I can't give away too much information, but intelligence-wise, we're gathering intel on the high-level people.
Okay, and is it all right if I gave them my email over the phone?
Yes, go ahead.
Of course, it's up to you here.
Okay, I just didn't know, I'm going to do the right thing. Okay, so it's my kid's first names. It's Alex, and then it's Ashley. So it's ALEXASHLEE00 at AOL.com. Yes, I'm old school.
So that's
it.
Alex Ashley 00 at AOL.com.
That is correct.
So that's ASHLEE.
Yes, it's at the EE at the end. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So thank you so much, Ann. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, guys. And I'd love to, I'm doing research, and I'm still doing things, and I'm an activist. And by the way, I'm on a lawsuit. I'm part of this lawsuit, and the lawyer that I'm with has 5 Jehovah's Witnesses that she's representing with that new state law in New York, which allowed them to file for a trial abuse. So I'm going to take up every damn thing we got.
Well, thank you, Albert. And Anne-Marie, I'm going to have you just hang in here for about another 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you, Albert. Hang in, Anne-Marie. I'm sure some people like to still talk to you. We're just getting some things ready here. So, Anne-Marie, hang in 5 or 10 minutes more if you would.
Absolutely. Albert, I want to apologize for earlier. I thought I had less time than we actually did. But, Rick was really looking forward to having you on, as I was. But I lost track of time earlier, and I apologize for that. I feel for you having gone through I can't even imagine as a child not having the protection of your home and family. You were in an orphanage, which means you had no protection. Go ahead, dear.
Yes, you're right. That's right. That's exactly. Mm-hmm.
And now to picture you trying to survive emotionally and mentally, living with your wife, knowing that her brain is basically completely taken over by, Watchtower. If it doesn't glorify Watchtower, then it's Satan. I mean, it's really that crazy, and you have to be witness to the craziness when you see the evil.
Hello, Albert.
Yes.
Hi, I want to thank you so much. You turned out to be a wonderful, marvelous human being. For someone who's been in an orphanage, you were given up by your parents, you were in an orphanage, and then you fell into the clutches of Jehovah's Witnesses, and you still turned out to be a decent human being. It shows that people, if they really want to, can turn out to be good people, good human beings. And I want to thank you for the wonderful person that you are. And thank you for your service as far as being a police officer and being in the military.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I know it can be hard. My first husband divorced me after 37 years of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
When I left the Watchtower, we just couldn't make our marriage work, and I was devastated. The day before I went before the court, I was sobbing, crying. I know they knew I didn't want to get divorced, but it was the best thing that ever happened because I met Rick, and the rest is history. So, sometimes it can be hard, but as time goes on, things straighten out.
Yeah, that's true. I appreciate that. I really do. And I'm going to try because that's just my heart. I've been like this my whole life, and I'm not going to change it. That's why I joined the organization. I figured, okay, we're doing good here. and just to find out that they're just as bad as everybody else. They're just as bad. There's no difference. They are the world. They are part of the world. They're the ones who taught me what to look for, false prophets. I got 35 scriptures that they either took a word out or put a word in. I've got them. Every aspect of that organization is wrong. Everything.
Hey, Albert, brother, I sent you an email.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm still waiting.
Hello.
I'm looking. Yes.
Hi, it's Roland from Returning to Light. I have a show next week, and I hope Anne-Marie doesn't mind me stepping on her toes a little bit here, but I just wondered whether you'd phone in next week and talk to us. It's the same time as Anne-Marie, 5:45 Eastern Standard Time. Wondered if you'd be up for it.
Yeah.
Sure. What?
Is that right? Yeah, I've listened to your story with interest tonight, and I think it deserves a little bit more time, and there's some questions I'd like to ask you, and I'm sure Chad, also my co-host, would like to ask. So if you can call in sometime just after 5:45 Eastern, when the programme gets going, just give us a call, and we'll let you come in, and we'll ask you a few more questions, if that's all right. And yeah, it's been lovely.
It's a different number than Rick?
No, same number, same as you've done tonight. So yeah, okay. All right, yeah. So it's still a support 6-screen show. Thank you, Anne-Marie. It's been a brilliant show, and Happy New Year to everybody from England. And thank you, brother, for all you're doing. And you've been in the police force, and that's great. So thank you for your service. Thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you next week.
Okay. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I think we look forward to hearing from you. And again, Albert, I am so sorry I went over time and got into your time. And thank God for Rick. He's always ready to give extra time, when he takes away from his show. But, your story and what you have been through is so compelling, and what you're still going through and what you're living with. It's just amazing. May I ask, why did you leave the department? Did it have to do with joining Watchtower? Why you left the police department?
No, I retired. I did. That's why I didn't, because I had the gun, and they gave me flack about that. But no, I did my retirement. So no, I didn't leave. I didn't leave my police department, because that, you talk about a brotherhood. No.
I'm sorry, it wasn't clear. No, was somebody else wanting to talk to Albert? I thought I heard somebody in the background. I'm just so grateful that you came on. And Albert, I hope that there are so many who are supporting you and, feeling for you for what you're going through, wanting you to know that you're not alone. A lot of us, I know I am, and everyone else wants to hear more from you. And I hope that you feel welcome. You're part of the 6 Screens family. You're not alone. You're loved. You're supported. You're definitely understood. And we want to hear more from you.
I'm going to support the channel. I'm definitely going to do that. And this is the first time I got to talk. Thank you.
Oh, bless your heart.
Is that your eye?
Oh. And we all hope that your wife, sooner or later, at some point, a light bulb just might go off. You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Something like
Rick and I met. Rick and I both met a couple, and the wife was doubting the organization and was secretly doing research, and she loved her husband very much. She was in the Watchtower, and she was absolutely scared to death that he would find out that she doubted. And she didn't want to lose her family. They had 3 children. And what they didn't know is that the husband was going through the same thing. He was secretly doubting the Watchtower and was secretly researching. And because she was pulling it off, that she was such a faithful witness, he was terrified that he would lose his wife and his children. And by and by, they both discovered that they were both searching, and they ended up coming out of the Watchtower. But it scared their kids, because their kids thought that Satan had gotten a hold of them and taken over their minds. And oh, it was terrible. But they all came out, the entire family. You just never know, my brother. You just never know, Albert. And I know it's so hard for you.
Yeah, the light.
Hey, Albert?
Yes?
I just wanted to tell you I feel bad for your situation. But, I really hope things improve for you. And I also wanted to thank you for your service in the military and for the police department. And it does take someone who really cares about other humans and people are humans, but other people. That's not something you take lightly at all. And I just wanted to let you know that that's very much appreciated.
Thank you. And just like all of you, that you joined this organization because you wanted to help people. So we all have the same heart. We all had the good heart. It's just that it took us a long way because these men have too much. It's the power and control. The BITE model, right? You know the BITE model, right? Behavior, information, thought, and emotion. They fit it to the T.
Absolutely.
Well, it's all about behavior control, control of your information, and thought control, and your emotional control, because you know how they're always talking about those wicked apostates in the kitchen with Satan, cooking up wicked brews and apostate lies designed to separate us from Jehovah's organizations such as the Watchtower's permissive toward pedophiles. Now that's just ridiculous, isn't it? When he himself, Stephen Letton, said that, knew for a fact because his personal friend from way back years ago wrote him a heartfelt letter crying out to Lent that his little 5-year-old girl had been molested and molested and molested. He had gone to the elders and he was told there was nothing he could do about it, keep his mouth shut, or else he would be in trouble for slander. He pours out his heart to Stephen Lett, and Stephen Lett says, well, I'm sorry you're going through this, but at least you're still being faithful to Jehovah. Stephen Lett knows this stuff is going on, but he's going to get up there on public TV and say, oh, apostate-driven lies and dishonesty, such as the Watchtower is permissive toward pedophiles, when he knows it's been going on forever. We got to keep...
Yes.
Go ahead.
What's going to happen? Real quick. What's going to happen is they're gonna. One of those 8 men are gonna get a conscience one day, I believe, before they croak, because they're all next to 90. They're gonna come out and say, "This is all bullshit." Sorry, it's all BS.
Hello, can you guys hear me? I agree with you. They can't hold it for that long.
They can't. Somebody's got to have some. They can't.
Maybe that's part of why they all drink so much.
Yes. Yes. And why don't we see their wives? Where are their wives? What's so secret? What? Oh, God.
At least we're standing up and telling the truth as we know it. We're telling the truth. They can't keep us quiet.
They're not. They're not going to ever do that. Not doing it.
Exactly.
Hello.
I don't know if you guys. Go ahead. Yes.
I am. This is Hitley. I don't mean to interrupt, but this all what Watchtower reminds me of. And Albert, I want to, say not only happy holidays and happy New Year, but I really, admire your tenacity and what you're doing, to not only show that you're an upright, standing man, but also that you do care about people, and that's a beautiful thing, I just wanted to say this real quickly, that all of the shows that show how corporations and crookedness and also greed and narcissism and also arrogance show, like for instance, I thought about that movie called The Firm with what's his name? I think there's Gene Hackman in there and Tom Cruise, and then another one that was just not too long ago called Don't Worry Darling, which has Harry Styles and what's his name, Chris Pine, and one of the, I forgot their name is Florence Pugh from one of the Marvel movies. But anyway, shows how crooked these people are with trying to make people stay in a certain situation or a certain condition where they can steadfastly make these people become steadfast people, not only steadfast wives, but husband and children and everything, and trying to make them have they wouldn't have the mastery over these people And so there's always one person, like in the case of the firm with Tom Cruise, he found out what was going on. They were trying to take his life, take his wife's life. And then I think Gene Triplehorn played that part. And then also Florence Pugh and somebody else, I forgot the black actress's name, but their characters were being run after and being by Chris Pine's characters, people, because they discovered, that the jig is up. So maybe that's the reason why, like you said, the wives and all these helpers and everything, they're probably scared, what list, because I don't want to curse, the sugar honey iced tea list, let's say it that way. Right. And they could, if they're not fully entrenched or fully subliminally indoctrinated, they could be scared, what list, to not become what these other characters on these movies and novels and everything has shown, that, I know the dark secret. If I say anything, my life is in danger, stranger danger and all that, like Will Robinson. Yeah. So I just thought I'd tell you that, and I thank you. And thank you also, Anne-Marie. Thank you.
Kidley, you know what? I love you, and I am so happy to hear you. I'm just
love you
jumping
too,
up and down.
I love you too. I love you too.
You are so good. Thank you. Go ahead, Al. Go ahead, sweetie.
So you guys have to think of this, just one thing here. Remember, this organization started with a president and Bible students, and it stayed that way. And when you start getting control and money, it gets jacked up. So now there's 8 men, and they have all this money, and it's just going to get worse. So the thing is, and you see how it's getting worse. People are killing each other in parking lots. Our kids are committing suicide. A friend of ours just hung himself. The kid, he had 3 kids. He hung himself in the bathroom. You say to yourself, this is what power and control and money does, and this is all they are. They're just like everyone else. They're no different.
I'm sorry. I have 2 personal people that I grew up with. We're not related, but I grew up with them in the Watchtower, and they both committed suicide, and they didn't know each other. And that's just me personally knowing 2 people in my life. You said that somebody just hung himself. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. When I was in, she was a good friend. More of a friend to my wife, because it was a sister. She was a single sister. She had a son. She had like 3 sons. And then this guy looked like he was doing okay. Everything was good. And then all of a sudden, now I'm out, and my wife's coming home crying. I said, what the heck's happening? She goes, my friend's son just committed suicide. He hung himself in the bathroom. And, in my mind, now I'm not going to tell her this, but I said, damn, but you know what it was for. You know what this did to him. He had nothing. He couldn't get a job. It was too much. It was just way too much. Let me end my life, and hopefully maybe God will resurrect whatever. I don't know. And that's the mindset, just like that couple. Same thing.
One thing you'll notice about them is like they almost create a environment where people are encouraged not to get a good job. They're like encouraged to be stupid.
Yep.
They're encouraged. It's basically like a slave manufacturing factory. If you want to know who owns them, it's their shareholders. Their shareholders have a say in what they promote, and their shareholders are probably some very evil people. Does anyone know about the Watchtower shareholders? Has anyone looked into it?
Yeah, they got they got so many different corporations. I already looked it up. They got so many. It's unbelievable. And it doesn't take a rocket science. I got, my wife's a PA. She's a physician assistant. She's not stupid, and she could look stuff up. It just, to me, and you took an oath, right? You took an oath that you're going to take care of a patient. It's like I took an oath. Can you imagine? I take an oath, but yet I know somebody just molested, but I'm not going to say anything or tell the authorities because we're going to handle it in-house.
Well, the God of the Watchtower is a like a weird bisexual God. The Watchtower openly said that the Jehovah, the God that they worship, which I do not believe is the God of the Bible at all, the one that they call Jehovah is a double-sex bisexual God from the Pleiades. So you see that spirit of perversion and witchcraft throughout the organization, and it manifests in people committing suicide, people cross-dressing, people doing all kinds of very disturbing things.
And they're hypocrites.
Yeah, I appreciate your reference to that. You know, a lot of people don't know that in the Mason movement, or three Masons, that Jehovah is like the most sacred name, and they despise Jesus. You don't even see anything about Jesus. And in the symbolism for Jehovah, they show like some kind of a god, like a goat head with horns, and it's a circle, and it says Jehovah, and I think Murdoch, or I don't know, there are three gods that are represented by this pagan.
Jabulon, I think it's Jehovah, Horus, and On, some kind of Egyptian god. I think that's what it is. Jehovah, Baal, and On. Jabulon.
Yeah, and whatever it is not what we are taught by Watchtower, that, oh, Jehovah is our Heavenly Father, and boo. And then they go and admit in the Aid to Bible Understanding around, I don't know, their encyclopedia for the Bible, that they know Jehovah is not God's name, where it came from, that it was invented by a Catholic monk of the Dominican order of Francios or somebody, Martini, and in 1200 something he invented the name. And then in their Watchtower, I believe, oh my God, February 1st, 1980, I believe it was, there is a big study article. It wasn't just waste, they actually had a study article, and it was entitled The Divine Name in Later Times or something like that. Anyway, in that entire article, February 1st, 1980, Watchtower was all about the origin of the name Jehovah. Well, we know it's not God's name. We don't really know what God's name is, but since it's accepted and it's the most popular, that's what we use.
Mm-hmm. Because if you pronounce it the way, it's supposed to be Yahweh. If you really want to do it the right way, let's do it it's Yahweh.
Actually, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with this, but there's a man by the name of Nehemiah Gordon. I'm actually, as much as I oppose the Watchtower organization, I'm not opposed to necessarily the name Jehovah. I'm a King James onlyist. I don't know if you guys know what that is. I only use the King James Bible. And I believe that the Illuminati have been trying to change the Bibles. But if you look at the Watchtower publications, they say that they believe in Yahweh. They don't believe in the Jehovah. They just use that name. Now, Freemasonry uses that name, but the character of the God of Masonry is not the Jehovah of the Bible, because the Jehovah of the Bible is the Lord Jesus Christ.
Hey, brother, we're gonna kind of shut this down now. We got to go to the news, but you do have an awful lot to say, and I would like to. Why don't you email me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'd like to have you come on. We can talk some other night. I'm gonna bring you on. We can have you really get into what you know. I like to know that. Okay. So
Definitely, brother. God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, jwworldnews@gmail.com. And let me just say, I was on the program the other night. You want to talk about certain things, and we'll get you on. You can have plenty of time to do that. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Good. Thank you. Well, I guess that's probably going to wrap things up here. We're getting ready to do our program. Emery, very good. My goodness, lots of participation. I told you there'd be a lot of people coming in tonight, a lot in here tonight. They're home, they're listening in, so that's good.
Thank you for all the extra time, Rick. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. Albert was wonderful.
Yeah, no, I told you we had, extra time. We give him some extra time, so that's good. But I did want him to come on and, at least give us a little rundown. I knew he couldn't spend a whole lot of time with Albert, but I like what he said. And then he's going to come on next week, too, on Roland's program. So that'll be good.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you, Albert.
And Anne-Marie, too, as well. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, just close that door, Susan. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to be going to JW World News. That's coming up next. Right here, friends, listen, we have got a big night here. New Year's Eve. We wish everyone a happy New Year's. Now, the thing is, we have got a program coming up next. It's JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. And we're going to talk about it tonight. And we're going to also talk about all the top stories in the Watchtower for the last year. So stay with us. And then at 9:30, we do a special program here tonight. Who is to blame? Is it the elders, the Watchtower, or the couple that committed suicide out there? Who's to blame on this? So we're going to have a number of people coming into our program tonight from pretty much all over the world. And they're going to let us know what their feelings are, because still we don't have the whole story. The Watchtower's holding back. And then about 11 o'clock tonight, if you can't sleep and you're pacing the floors, well, you want to come in to Aposta Babe. She's your favorite apostate. She'll be on tonight, and she's looking forward to all of her people coming in and talking with her. So we're going to end this program here, but I want to thank everyone for coming in to Anne-Marie's program, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. Very, very good. A lot of participation. We thank you very much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. We're going to end this program now, but stay with us if you're on YouTube, and then we're going to go to our new program, JW World News, up next.